on the man thing and the patriarchy thing, like the common conversation I see happen is, you know, it's pointing out that, you know, you can't trust most men, which I agree with. It's pointing out how shitty men are, all the things we fucking know and understand, right? The conversation in terms of like challenging patriarchy, like, I'm sorry, like it can't stop there, and it can't like stop within the bounds of capitalist labor relations and social and hierarchical social relations. Like, and so to me, I'm thinking about, okay, like the culture of patriarchy and how it permeates everything. And then I'm thinking about how it intermingles with things structurally and organizationally, like from the standpoint of entertainment or the arts or whatever. And I'm saying that to say, like, there has to be a different organizational and social organizational logic in terms of labor, the infrastructure, and it has to meet with a revolutionary feminist culture and politics. And I'm stressing the revolutionary piece because, like, what people commonly understand as feminism is not, it's like it's like liberal feminism. Like, let's just get
it's patriarchal feminism.
Yeah. Like, let's get a less shitty person, regardless of gender, in here, and now we can say, and it's like, okay, there's still a hierarchy. There's still people being exploited. There's so much fuck shit that can happen just in that. And I'm like, and I'm emphasizing the culture piece too, because there has to be space where people who aren't men and the men that they trust can operate, make a living, quote unquote, together. Hopefully they're as ambitious as we are around like usufruct and like this sort of stuff, but where there's a culture that's alive and thriving and that permeates those labor relations. Then now we have a situation where we actually have fertile ground for something that's meaningful and can be sustained over time, and where there's transparency, there's democracy, and we're like, it's not just the business part, it's like there's a culture around it, there's an understanding. It's like, oh no, people don't, like, we don't do shit like that here because we're actually accountable to each other. We actually see each other face to face. We all have a vote. We all have a say. That means men with women and cishet men with people that don't conform to these gender binaries. You have to face them and make decisions with them the next day. So are you really think you can do whatever you want? You really think you can say whatever you want? No, it's not going to happen. It just doesn't operate that way. You know?
It's like, it's like, instead of it being based on money or whatever, your livelihood's based on the amount you can humanize the other person, the amount they can humanize you.
Right.
And I think the through line with all this shit we talk about, and I'm sure Jaded Forum fans probably, they watch us and they're like, oh, now they're getting into this again. And they're talking about this, and they know because it's a continuous conversation. The show is just one conversation kind of, but the through line is like, and I think this is going to get really, really put in focus, especially this year and in the near future, is like, we're basically distilling it down to like, nothing is going to socially change with human beings until there's material space to heal that, to change that, to make change. Like, you will not make change unless it's a completely fresh slate, like a completely clean slate.
And it has to be self-reinforcing too. I'll shut up in a second, but I just want to say, like, another important piece of this is these men, like, to me, the base, the foundation is that they do not like they don't have a human understanding of women. They just don't even, they're not perceiving women as human beings. Right. And it's like, in the capitalist and patriarchal and white supremacist logic, like, all of that stuff is like reinforcing. It like reinforces itself. And with what we're talking about, it's like, you can't even operate in the space without showing capacity baseline. It's also like humanization of women. That's baseline. That's like basic ass shit.
And I also feel like it's worth clarifying too that like how much needs to happen to men for this to work.
Yeah.
Like, how much actually has to, like, the whole shit about like the reason men's problems aren't actually addressed is because that would break through every single strata of power that we have set up and constructed. Like, you actually don't want men to be in therapy. You don't really want men to say what their problems are, because men's problems are that patriarchy promised them something. It doesn't deliver that, and so it's like a heroin addiction. It's just like it never delivers fulfillment.
That's a point from the last episode that I think was valuable, is that this whole notion of men's loneliness and whatnot is getting so much special attention. And I think people are rightly pushing back on that because everybody is lonely, but also
but that always falls onto women. That always becomes their response. It's women's fault that men are sad.
This happened in Japan. This is crazy.
The point I was building toward is that the point I was building toward is that the loneliness of men is so reflective of that condition across all society, because it's reflective of the nature of patriarchy.
Yeah,
you know, and so as everybody kind of falls in line with this patriarchal dynamic, everybody starts to follow that trend that is ultimately the position, and at least initially the position of men in society.
I think that's also what's like caused me personal problems with my family recently. Is feeling like I don't maybe as a man get the same like soapbox or same voice or about certain things, you know what I mean, about certain emotional things, not being able to express certain things, because that's a luxury of space that you're not supposed to have as a man. You get these freedoms, but you don't get the like, we actually have to give a shit about how you feel, because that would be too much. You get to dominate and you get to have feelings. It's like, not that I chose to be a part of this, you know, side of things, but yeah, it's just like the thing that I think is so lost is that even just the word like patriarchal, like that's gender neutral. That's just a someone who's helping support self-support the system.
Yes. That note is so important. The bell hooks feminism is for everybody note is so fucking important.
Yeah.
And conversely, everybody can participate in patriarchy.
Right, and that it's and patriarchy is like, it's like a spiral of alienation, and that's a part of the distrust, you know, that women have. And I mean, it's literally it's at the root, it's at the base. And my comment on Japan is literally like this discourse that's just now, you know, happening here. It's like, this is old Japan. I think I said the other week, I was like, it's like we're becoming Japan. Like I keep having these moments where I'm not in every way, obviously. It's dirty as fuck over here. But it's especially when it comes to like gender and sexual activity and you know,
repression.
Things are there's similar patterns that I'm picking up on. And the thing of you saying like the onus, like people trying to shift that like onto women, like you have to, you know, and like in Japan, it's like a lot of men think it's like they're still holding on. It's delusional. They're still holding on to these traditional patriarchal values and ideas. So they're it's like this like soy boy, like service. You have to service me. You have to service me. You have to. You are supposed to be taking care of me, and you know, and it's like, and women are like, so many women are just like, fuck that. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, fuck this shit. You know,
it's the paradox.
What year
of
do you
like,
think it is?
It's a culture that shames women for having any sex, and then the men are furious that no women want to have sex with them.
Right.
It's like you like this.
And then
shit.
think about the terms.
Supposedly.
Think about the terms in which you are willing to, you know, have sex. It has to be. You have to have ownership and exclusivity, and you have to.
Right.
That's just how it goes, man.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Bell hook, she spits, bro. The
I remember
sex being violent. You know how it's like.
I mean, dog, I remember being in college and having somebody explain the phrase rape culture to me, because in my mind I was still in that state of like, well, I'm not fucking raping anybody, so what are you talking about? And so like I remember just like not being able to put two and two together with like the broader like cultural implications of that. Like you don't have to actually actively be raping someone for that culture to exist.
Right.
And the notion of like, I mean, the way these fucking like this body count shit is all over the internet now.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's like
Dehumanization.
It's dehumanizing, and it's literally, if you just take it at face value and say, I would like to date a woman who doesn't like sex, is never like had sex in her life. I would like to have like, so you want to be, so the implication being that you as a man have had a bunch of sex because that's what you as a man are supposed to do, and you only fuck women that have never done it, and so they don't necessarily want to do it because they've held out for this long in their life just to please you. So like,
but it gets away at the fundamental level. It gets away from human social connection being about you actually connecting with another human being, with their spirit and who they are.
Yeah,
that is like that is the bottom line to me. Like, the consent conversation, the rape conversation, all that stuff. It's like you have to. This person is not fully human to me.
Yeah.
And it can happen any which way. And so if someone isn't fully human, of another gender or another identity or whatever, the ownership, the entitlement, the whatever, all of that stuff makes more sense. It's like, oh, well, service me, or I want what I want.
Yeah.
So it's like at a baseline level, it's like, how do you cultivate an instinct and a culture of humanization? It has to just start at like connecting at a baseline, like who are you? And
that was a big realization, is like being on dating apps and whatnot, and then realizing like, I have zero interest in anybody that I've met on these things, and like just going back and like reconnecting with people from other parts of my life where I'm just like, I'm so much happier to just like be with a person that I already have built a connection with and I've been in community with in some way.
Right.
You know, it's like I'm a romanticized high school again, but but just like that sort of transgressive is not the word I'm looking for, but just like transformative identity of people where over time you realize like, oh, I've never like seen you that way before.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I've never seen that, like, you do a little thing with
you grow up with people and
you slowly and you
start
just
to see
like
their personality come out.
Yeah, you see their personality come out and you see the things that you didn't know that you liked about them, and you just like having a person be exactly the same and just kind of transform for you over time, which you just don't get in like this swiping shit, which like it's been said a million fucking times, but just like it's not the same. And it's like you just never get that change. You never get to have that moment of realization. It's just like people are just on a fucking auction block, you know,
ordering food online.
Yeah,
it's a fun fucking menu. You make yourself bite size.
Yeah,
the user interface is like you're dropping yourself into this little, and more than half the people aren't. It's not even like they're vulnerable on there, because someone could just screenshot it and then it's crystallized in time, you being vulnerable for everyone and anyone to see. And why would I send a message? It's just could be screenshotted at any point, and you know, it's like everything is crystallized. Can
Welcome
be
to hell. That's what I'm trying to say.
Frozen in time, person to person. It's fluid. It's. Yeah, I could talk about that forever. I mean, it's just it's mind blowing. The commodification of.
I'm just laughing because I'm thinking like how much I judge, and will continue to do so. But people that like they just buy houses where they grew up and live and like hang out with their high school friends, and it's like, well, you have decades of like community with those people. I nowadays I'm like, I get it. I'm not gonna judge. I mean, like I always thought like I want to meet other people that aren't fucking. Well,
there's a concept of finding your chosen community.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So maybe that's what the difference is. It's people who didn't have.
I'm lucky because I feel like I'm not one of these people who like moves to a city and they didn't know anybody. Like I knew people here, like had friends, whatever. So I'm kind of lucky, but
But I'm saying that might be one of the key differences is the difference between you and someone else who's quote unquote stayed back home is
they're going to run into the same pitfalls that they ran into growing up.
Well, it's just like they're gonna fall in line, you know, like they're like,
it worked for them.
Yeah, exactly.
It was in their favor. It was like, oh, wow, you're good at all the normal basic things. Like, oh wow, you're fond of this community. Go figure, you know. Whereas someone who's like growing up their whole life, like I don't even feel on the same maturity level as the people I go to school with.
Yeah,
I'm waiting to be an adult so I can literally start childhood how it's supposed to happen.
Getting made fun of for wearing Japanese streetwear.
Which is crazy because that would be drip now. You know, you got made
true,
fun of.
True story. Yeah. Because I didn't wear Nike boots and North Face jackets.
Like the Bape shit, right?
Wow.
And New Balance sneakers, which I wear now, but
yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
that's like the DMV, DC.
I feel like feels like a competitive place in both fashion and sports where you grow up. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I mean, that's literally how I felt. Was like my life's going to start in adulthood. That's how it always felt. So like now I'm getting a raw deal with this. This is prison basically. This is just let me get out of the reserves and then you know, let me get out of enlistment and I don't know how the fucking military works. That's not what it is. It's actually no. You go on base and then you get 2 weeks and then
fuck
year.
That shit. It's all stupid.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
No, I feel that though.
Fucking
I feel that though. I was like spending my whole childhood getting like drag and dropped into different environments that my parents thought were gonna be like better for me. Just as an individual, just every couple years, just new community. Here you go.
I couldn't do that.
It's gonna be great for your sport.
You're gonna fucking love it, and you're gonna think nobody is human when you're a grown man. It's gonna be great. You can thank Oprah Winfrey for that.
You're gonna think no one's a human.
No.
You're gonna barely have a grasp of reality.
What's the connection with Oprah?
She put money into the program.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. Yeah, a better chance. Send an inner city.
You're gonna be alienated.